Kingdom. It's been real.
It's really bittersweet.
It's not the send-off that it deserves. We tried our best.
That is honestly one of the most devastating things I've ever taken part of. He's up there with Rolling Thunder now.
Chiller. All of them.
I'm gonna
Today, November 10th, 2025, marks exactly 1 year since Kingda Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure closed forever, along with Green Lantern, Twister, and a number of other rides at the park that would meet their end on that day. Unlike the recent closure of Six Flags America, this closure was not announced at all. There were rumors, heavy rumors in fact, from a number of content creators including myself, but there was no definitive announcement until after the ride had already closed. A lot of people were in denial. They did not believe that Kingda Ka's last day truly was November 10th, but those who doubted the closure would soon see that the rumors were not exaggerated as Kingda Ka's demolition began, and we watched as that unfolded into the new year when it was imploded at the end of February. Now obviously the closure of Kingda Ka and the other rides at Great Adventure that also left with Kingda Ka has undoubtedly left an impact on the park. And in this video, I want to take a look at what that impact has really spelled out for the park, what the park is going to be doing in the future to address that giant gap in their lineup now, and what it really means to us to not have this coaster with us anymore. I think the most obvious thing that comes from the lack of Kingda Ka was the pretty big drop in attendance at Great Adventure throughout the 2025 season. We did see it rebound during the Fright Fest season, and at the beginning of the season there were some pretty strong crowds to celebrate the opening of Flash, but in between those two times the park was really empty. As someone who visits the park almost weekly, I saw that the attendance really just was not on the same level as it was even last year, and in 2024 attendance was not record-breaking either. We haven't really seen truly record-breaking attendance at Great Adventure since 2019, but after COVID it just keeps going down and down. By opening day of 2025, pretty much all signs of Kingda Ka, Green Lantern, and any of the other rides that once were at the park were pretty much gone, and it was definitely noticed by guests. I would constantly see guests asking, oh, what happened to this ride? What happened to that ride? How do I get to Kingda Ka? And then having to explain to them that it was gone, they were definitely confused. And I think that's one of the big things about the whole closure is confusion. The way they chose to go about closing Kingda Ka really just still doesn't make all that much sense. There is the argument that maybe they didn't want to announce it because what if the ride decided to close early because it is a mechanically difficult ride to deal with anyways, so if you gave people a certain date to come and ride it by, then what would happen if they came on that date and the ride wasn't working? So yeah, that's understandable to a certain degree, but every ride out there is subject to maintenance issues, so using that just as an excuse for Ka really doesn't make too much sense. I think they definitely learned their lesson after this because they made an effort to announce that Six Flags America was closing, which obviously a park closing is probably a little bit of a bigger deal than just Kingda Ka, Green Lantern, and a few other rides closing. But either way, I think the impact of that reaction that was very negative from the Great Adventure community was definitely felt by corporate. Now, as a result of all that negative backlash from the community, what has corporate done to kind of address this? Well, obviously we know that we're getting a new coaster that was originally supposed to open in 2026, as was announced just a few days after Kingda Ka closed in a giant corporate-wide press release when they announced Kingda Ka's closure officially, but we know now that that coaster is more than likely going to wind up opening in 2027 after a series of presumed delays that they keep mentioning are kind of delaying the coaster's progress, and they want to make sure they can open it at a time of the year where they want it to open, so as opposed to just opening it in, say, the middle of the summer or the end of the summer when it may be ready in 2026, they're just going to wait to open it until the beginning of 2027. That way the coaster has a full season of it being fresh and new. Now, if you ask me, this is a pretty interesting strategy. I'd imagine we're probably going to see something come in 2026, maybe some relocations from Six Flags America, because I think they know that they kind of have to add something to Great Adventure, considering so much capacity was slashed, and I mean, the biggest coaster in the park was also taken out, so you kind of need something to start filling that void, and just one coaster is not going to fill the void of 8 rides that were all removed. As it stands right now, the new coaster has pretty much all of its footers done. There might just be a couple more left to do, but there is no sign of track or supports being on site, which is definitely concerning for a potential 2026 opening. When you look back at Kingda Ka's construction, all the track and supports, or at least a good portion of it, was at the park starting in September, October of the year prior in 2004, with a lot of footer work also being done. So I would say that this coaster is on track to be ready around the same time as Kingda Ka, but the problem is, like I said, no track and supports, which means they really can't do much of anything besides just the concrete work. Kingda Ka's entire themed area, being the Golden Kingdom, has pretty much sat abandoned ever since demolition wrapped on Kingda Ka. They got rid of a couple things in the area, like Kingda Ka's station, but a lot of other things have remained there. They did get rid of Zumanjaro's queue line, so now it's just a bare patch of dirt, and still trees that kind of lead down to where Zumanjaro's station used to be, but the entirety of the Golden Kingdom has pretty much remained untouched and inaccessible to any park guests. You can't go and even use the bathrooms in there, you can't use any of the facilities, which does kind of make sense because there is nothing back there to do, but it really does beg the question, what's going to happen to this area, considering the new coaster is probably not going to really have anything to do with the Golden Kingdom? When will we ever see the Golden Kingdom return or a new area spawn on top of it? The same can be said about quite a few of the other rides that were removed. Parachutes, Twister, and Green Lantern all kind of encompass the same area, and we know that Twister's plot is going to be pretty much taken up by the new coaster, but most of Green Lantern's plot remains untouched for this new attraction. Same thing can be said about Daredevil Dive, which was one of the more surprising removals from the batch of removals at the park last year. This plot is pretty sizable and in a pretty marquee area of the park, but there hasn't really been much signs of anything happening in that area, plus where it is would really be more akin to a full redevelopment, removing other attractions nearby, but there currently has not been any signs of that happening quite yet. All of this kind of goes to say that the park has been in a really weird spot ever since Kingda Ka closed just a year ago today. A lot of uncertainty kind of remains around the park as to what will be coming to the park to replace all of these missing attractions, and to me, I'm kind of viewing this in a little bit more of a hopeful light, hopefully seeing it as the start of a new beginning for the park. It's hard to see that right now, considering we're really not seeing much progress on too much happening, but I am hopeful that in the near future we're going to hear news of some really great investments coming to the park that are desperately needed, beyond just big massive marquee coasters, which we do need, but also just a sprucing up of all the areas of the park, which the park desperately needs, and I really hope that we do wind up seeing that come to Great Adventure, as much as we all loved Kingda Ka, Green Lantern, Parachutes, they were kind of a part of the problem of the park just kind of feeling like it hadn't been touched too much in terms of getting new additions and new investment and refurbishments. Kingda Ka had sat fairly untouched ever since 2005 with very minimal changes to that area other than the addition of Zumanjaro. Green Lantern was kind of plopped in a really weird spot of the park, and that whole boardwalk area never really felt complete or cohesive at all, and having two superhero coasters at the end of it did not help matters at all. What I'm getting at here is that I hope that the new company can give Great Adventure the proper investments like what it was getting back in the early to mid 2000s before that company went bankrupt, and hopefully we can finally see Great Adventure become more of a complete, cohesive park that can rival parks like Kings Island, Cedar Point, but as it stands right now, it's definitely in the rebuilding stage, but coaster fans will probably never forget what happened at the end of 2024 and how all coaster enthusiasts were able to come together to send off one of the most iconic and important roller coasters ever to exist, that of course being Kingda Ka. If you guys enjoyed this kind of retrospective video looking back at Kingda Ka's whole closure and what it's meant for the park, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your memories with Kingda Ka with me down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, guys.